This year, we wear masks because of the pandemic. And this year, we're not entering the doors of our congregation. We're not entering our sanctuary. Because of the pandemic, the high holidays have been transformed. And we are streaming our services, and you're watching them on your screens right now. We have recrafted the service to recognize this historic moment. And while they will be different, they resonate with the words that we have spoken here at our congregation of a bold, dynamic Judaism. I appreciate that you invited us into your homes for these services. I hope you can create an opportunity to allow the distractions of the day and the distractions all around us to fade away so that you can focus on the words and perhaps hear them this year with a different ear. At the end of each service, we speak of a Shana Tova, a good year, a healthy year. Indeed, that is our hope, that is our wish, that the year to come indeed will be one of health for all people here and everywhere throughout the world.
Through the eyes of a child, in the vision that we see, the soft cadence of silence, the poetry we speak. We welcome the Sabbath and join together here for dreams and introspection, understanding and reflection in these moments that we share. See the wonder, hear your heart, touch your feelings, time to start. Through the eyes of a child and the wisdom of the sage, in our search for the answers as we seek to come of age, we welcome the Sabbath and rest from all we do, for dreams and introspection, understanding and reflection, as our spirit we renew.
So, David, I got to ask, why are we doing this? Why are we getting together online for Rosh Hashanah? This is such an odd year. We're separated by distance. We're doing all of our services via Zoom, all of our readers, our different participants. And I'm struggling with what's bringing us together? Why are we doing this? And perhaps how could it help us at this moment in history?
I've asked myself the same question, but I think a lot of it is that this has been a lonely time where we've really been separated. I mean, physically separated because of COVID, but also just emotionally separated. Even if we're in our homes together, everybody's on devices doing their own thing, whether it's school or work. And I always love Rosh Hashanah because it's a coming together of the community.
Part of the liturgy, we talk about why we come here, that some of us are here out of reverence, out of duty, sense to find deeper meaning. So why are you here other than you're one of the rabbis leading? Why would you have come to a Rosh Hashanah service?
I think I come to be part of a community. I come to feel, I come to a place of common language. I come to a place of common experience. I mean, I love being in community with people in general. You know, and it's hard because Hillel says you shall not separate yourself from the community. And like, it's hard because we're separated,
right?
Like physically and emotionally and whatever. But I think I come to this service today because I miss people.
I'm hoping too that everybody who's participating and watching, I don't know what the words are to use tonight, that they think about, why did you come? Why did you take time, whether you're watching this when it first posts or some in your archives, what drew you to it? And what are you looking to get out of it? Because we can provide the text and we can provide our particular insights into through sermons or through talks or through the Torah readings or things of that nature. But ultimately, I think those who are watching, you're bringing something to it as well. And perhaps this year more than in any year, your commitment, your sense of wanting to be here, your sense of deciding that I'm going to turn this on means something in a very deep and profound way. And I hope that over the course of the high holiday season, you can explore some of that about what does it mean about your Jewish identity, your connection to this particular liturgy, our congregation, which is defined by modernity and defined by science and shaped by that. How do these words resonate, and how does it help you cope? And how does it touch you? I hope it touches you in a deep and profound way and awakens things with you that might be dormant. Because this is easily a season, I think, where aspects of life have sort of been suppressed, have been pushed down by the repetitive nature of being at home. And some of us are home with others, and some of us are home alone. We live by ourselves, which must also be a very different experience, much more challenging, not to even hear the patter of another set of feet. And we want this to be a place that can connect with each other in a different way, not exactly the same. I don't ever want to pretend that what we're providing is exactly the same. It's new and different. I hope it's rich and textured, but some of it we just can't do. I can't reach out and touch you, nor can you touch the person, in front of you either.
The asynchronous nature of it's really interesting. What happens if you have to work on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur? What if you're not feeling well? What if what if you can't get out of your home? Like it allows us to actually create a venue where you can experience this where you are at the time. I think it allows that freedom, which is what Beth Adam is about. We welcome you for who you are, and we want you to explore this connection to Judaism.
And what'll be interesting too is those of you who are participating, give us feedback. I'm curious what you found resonates differently, more meaningfully. Did the words take on new meaning? And in the midst of this pandemic, did being together online for these high holidays have deeper meaning than you were expecting? And did they help bring you to a place that we all need to be together again, connected, feeling a part of something bigger than ourselves? I'm so delighted that Rabbi David Burstein will be co-leading the high holiday services with me this year, and I'm delighted that he is joining us this Rosh Hashanah evening. David, how are you doing? You're safe? You're healthy?
I'm safe and healthy here, hunkered down in my basement, and ready to roll.
And as two rabbis who've led services in front of congregations before, this must be, like for me, an unusual situation for you.
It is a very strange, solitary situation, but I'm excited to share it with you and other guests.
Well, thanks. It's great to be with you. And I want to introduce as well Sam and Ann Cooper, and who are joining us, helping read our service tonight. And you're doing well and safe and healthy?
Yes, we are. And we're happy to be here.
We're really pleased that you're here. I know both of you actually have helped to lead services before in the sanctuary of Beth Adam. So for you too, this is both a reminiscent and an odd situation simultaneously. So thanks so much. And then Hira Reines is joining us as well. She's going to be reading part of our service as well. Hira, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
I'm so pleased you're here and that you're participating, that you helped get us ready for tonight. So thank you. I'm delighted that we're all here, and Joey Taylor, who's helping as well, and who is is involved in this. Joey's in the background for most of this, but his role is essential. So together we are so delighted that you have invited us into your home this night to share this Rosh Hashanah. And we're proud that we can share our homes with you as well. So my sense is some of you may be looking at our houses as well. So after the service is over, you can probably email us a question about what you're seeing and what you're doing. Because of all the holidays that I've ever lived, all the services, in this year, this way, this service is perhaps the most intimate I've ever experienced. That you're sitting with me in my home. And everyone's home is Sam and Ann's, Hira's and David's and Joey's, and that we're sharing this Rosh Hashanah evening together. We're pleased that we're here with you this night, and we look forward to sharing this service and other services to come.
As our ancestors have done for thousands of years at this season, we now enter into a period of self-reflection. The Jewish people set this time apart from and above the routine of everyday life, so that this celebration would serve as an intense period of self-scrutiny. Every aspect of one's life was considered. Given momentum by the power of this tradition, we are compelled to do no less.
Comparing our past actions with our ideals cannot be a comfortable or painless effort. When we look at what we have done over the past year, we are at times heartened, at times humbled. Looking within, we may feel alone, and then looking up and seeing others, we realize we are not. The path of self-examination we take throughout the high holidays is necessarily a private one, but not a solitary one. We can absorb strength from walking it, as we do tonight in the companionship of friends.
Each of us comes here tonight from our own prompting. Some of us are here out of habit, the habit established for us by our parents and grandparents, to adhere to the tradition of Jews gathering to celebrate the new year.
Some of us are here out of reverence, a reverence for the tradition of our ancestors who found joy and meaning in this celebration.
Some of us are here out of duty, a sense that we owe to others a respect for tradition.
Some of us are here to find a deeper meaning for our lives. We find enrichment, renewed energy, and purpose in these services.
It is for all these purposes that a community is formed. Our gathering together reminds us of our place among the peoplehood of Israel, assures us of continuity. It allows us to reach beyond the mundane, to view the universe with a sense of wonder, to transcend the ordinary, to appreciate the mystery of life.
We come here as individuals, but the moments spent here transform us, bring us together, raise us beyond ourselves. In the strength of community, we find security and meaning. Without community, our lives as Jews, as human beings, would be impoverished.
Hillel taught, do not separate yourself from the community. And thus we ask ourselves,
Do I let myself feel a part of this community?
Or do I hold myself aloof, protecting against engagement?
Do I accept others who have chosen this community for themselves?
Or do I define myself by excluding those I do not accept?
Am I willing to make a commitment to my community?
Or do I take from it with no thought of return?
Do I present myself as a member of the Jewish community?
Or do I shrink from who I am, preferring to be anonymous?
Am I willing to take action as a member of my community?
Or do I sit passively, allowing others to act in my stead?
And thus we ask ourselves at this time of self-reflection,
Have I been less than I can be?
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. ידעי, דדדדדדדי.
Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Ya la 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 la. Hine ma tov umanaim. Hine ma tov umanaim. Hine ma tov umanaim. Ya da 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 da.
We are here to review our past, to examine the paths we have taken.
It is a time to reflect on the values we hold.
We are here to ask ourselves essential questions about the nature of our lives.
It is a time to honestly evaluate our actions.
We are here to seek out new directions that promote greater dignity and self-respect.
Rosh Hashanah provides an opportunity for change.
We are here to begin a new path, one that enriches and strengthens the integrity of our lives.
We are ready, for today is the beginning of a new year. Rosh Hashanah signifies the possibilities of our lives.
The candle's flame, though frail and easily extinguished, has the power to light the darkness. A small candle can cast light where none has existed before, and its penetration seems greatest in the darkest of spaces. Yet that flame is fragile. A slight breeze will extinguish the light. A drop of dew will bring back the darkness. Like a candle's flame, each human life is minute compared to the world around us. Yet a single act of compassion is like a flame's ray. It bathes our surroundings in light and warmth, and its greatest effect is where indifference is the deepest. A single person has the power to push back the darkness, to bring clarity and understanding where none has existed before. Just as the candle's flame brings light to other candles, each of us can bring inspiration to others. Together, our actions can illuminate the world. As we light these candles, may we use this light to reflect upon our lives and the year just ending. Baruch Haor Ba'olam. Blessed is the light within the world. Baruch Haor Ba'adam. Blessed is the light within each person. Baruch Haor Ba'yom Tov. Blessed is the light of this season.
When the pandemic began and we closed our doors at Beth in March, it didn't occur to me that we'd be observing these high holidays as we are. I hope that after a few weeks or a few months, life was going to return to normal. And COVID was going to be a minor annoyance, not a life-altering event that was going to reshape the way we're living our lives. And while social distancing has limited our interactions with one another, we're living parallel lives, sheltering in place, wearing masks, washing our hands, seeing each other over our computer screens. And while some are venturing out, many of us are not. We certainly aren't going to stores like we once did. And if we eat out, and that is one big if, our servers wear masks or face shields, we sit outside or at tables that are spread far apart. And that sense of community that once was is no longer. Dinner with friends and parties have been transformed. Who could have imagined Zoom dinners, Zoom happy hour, Zoom birthdays, graduations, and more would become the norm? Who would have imagined 8 months ago that you'd be sitting in your homes watching these high holidays over your computer monitors, and I'd be sitting in my home speaking to you from here? Most of us have spent more time online in the last few months than we have in the last several years. And even those of us who aren't too tech savvy have learned out of necessity to work our computers in an effort to remain connected and engaged. And while we're managing, COVID has taken its toll on all of us in one way or another. It's likely that you know somebody who has contracted the virus. You might know somebody who has been in a hospital or in hospice, not allowed to receive any visitors, there, alone, scared, frightened. You may know somebody who has died as a result of the virus. And that death, like every death, transforms a family. Tens of thousands of people have died. Tens of thousands of families have been radically changed. Millions are ill, and the deaths will continue. The numbers are numbing, with no end in sight. Uncertainty stretches before us further than we can see, past the distant horizon. Having officiated at funerals and having attended funerals over Zoom during this pandemic, I know how mourning and burying our dead has been transformed. We can't gather as we once did. We have to stand apart. There's no hugging. There's no leaning upon one another in our grief. There's no wiping of another person's tears. It's behind our masks that we must mourn. It strikes me that these necessary precautions makes grieving even more painful and sad, if that were possible. Being denied human contact during these challenging times robs us of our natural inclination to hold and to be held, to touch and to be touched, to know and feel the warmth of another human being, to know that we're connected, bonded to one another. In this age of COVID, the darkness of night appears all the darker, a void that seems to swallow up any light. And so too are our celebrations transformed, dampening down the joy we feel even at the happiest moments, whether it's a wedding or a naming or a graduation or birthday, with no guests or limited guests. These milestones take on new shapes. We're no less proud, no less appreciative of the milestone being marked, but without being able to share in person with those high fives, hugs, kisses, cheers, those pictures of us with our arms around one another, something is lost, diminished. That high note isn't quite so high, and that bright moment of light is dimmed. On reflection, it seems that the pandemic has made painful events more painful, sad occasions sadder, and happy events a little less happy, because we can't share them in the same way. This pandemic challenges us at the very heart of our being, our humanity. It has taken from us the most basic and necessary of human interactions, closeness and touch. Whether with family, friends, or community, it's in our togetherness that we give expression to who we are and what we feel. There's a camaraderie in community and an energy that is spawned when people are together. And more than losing these opportunities to stand together, to be together, we know that what is keeping us apart, keeping us inside, is a specter of illness and of death. And if we do venture out, we do so tentatively, tinged with anxiety, because somewhere in our thoughts, somewhere in the back of our minds, we wonder, could it be me? Could I contract the virus? Might I fall ill? Could I die? If I contract the illness, might I pass it to someone else? Might they die? This pandemic forces us to consider community and isolation, health and illness, life and death. It pulls at what it means to be human. It exposes our vulnerability. It tests our resolve. It wears us down. And all of us are feeling this to one degree or another. This is a shared experience. And while we process and wrestle with it in our own unique way, informed by our personal experience, it touches all of us deeply, profoundly. For many, it even visits us when we are asleep, invading our dreams, causing restless nights. And yet, in spite of all of this, we come together tonight to observe Rosh Hashanah. We no longer view Rosh Hashanah through the lens of our ancestors who thought this the birthday of the world. We embrace a scientific understanding of how our universe unfolded and how our earth evolved. We appreciate and value a scholarly approach to Judaism that recognizes how different generations have shaped, reinterpreted, and added their own values to this holiday. And yet, for all the changes, all the twists and turns, even all the contradictions, we join together tonight, not because we're required to do so, but because we choose to do so. The act of sitting down, turning on one's computer, affirms our connection to something larger than ourselves, to our people, to our history, to our congregation, to one another. It is to believe that Rosh Hashanah marks the turning of the calendar page. It marks the end of one year, but more importantly, it marks the beginning of another year. There will be a new year. There will be a tomorrow. A day will follow, a month will follow, a year will follow. There is a future ahead. And while there is now darkness and hardship, there is the belief that the light will shine and the pain will be diminished. Because where there is life, there is possibility. Rosh Hashanah is an affirmation of life, an affirmation that days will follow days. Not that there's any guarantee about the quality of those days, but simply an affirmation of life itself, with all of its complexities, all of its texture and color, all its joy and sorrow, all that it means to be alive, even as we face the reality of illness and death that sweeps across the face of our planet. Always understanding that where there is life, there's hope, that justice will overcome inequity, that respect will vanquish prejudice, that truth will replace lies, that civility will eliminate rudeness, that empathy will overcome narcissism. There's a story told by Rachel Naomi Remen in her book, Grandfather's Blessing, of a young child sitting with her grandfather, who, when he lifts his cup, says, L'chaim. And the child asks, what's the meaning of L'chaim? It means to life, says the grandfather. And the child says, to a happy life? No, says the grandfather, to life. Is it a prayer? Asks the child. No, says the grandfather. Is it a Jewish tradition? Is it from the Bible somewhere? No, says the grandfather. It's not written down in any text. It's simply written in people's hearts. L'chaim means that no matter what difficulties life brings, no matter how hard or painful or unfair life is holy and worthy of celebration. It's remarkable, observes the author, that such a toast would be offered by generations of people for whom life has not been easy. But she suggests perhaps it can only be said by such people, for only those who have lost and suffered can truly appreciate its power. L'chaim is a way of life. It's less about celebrating life and more about the wisdom of choosing life. In time, our social distancing will end, and we're going to be together once more. We're going to sing together again. We're going to laugh together again. We're going to hug one another, and we are going to be joyful together. And that joy will be all the sweeter because of what we have known, what we have experienced, what we have lost. So this night, when we live in the grip of this pandemic, when pain and illness hangs over our nation and our world, where isolation is all too real, and anxiety and weariness and tension are all too present in our life, Let us say with countless generations and members of our people have said, during good times and bad, during times of joy and sorrow, during times of hardship and plenty. Let us say this night, this Rosh Hashanah, l'chaim, to life.
It is Rosh Hashanah. At this time, we commit to an inner search, measuring our deeds against our ideals, our accomplishments against our hopes, our realities against our dreams. We consider the hours we have spent in boredom, in dullness, in unsatisfying routine. We remember the cutting remarks, the coldness, the unconcern we have offered others. We reflect on our moments of fear, afraid to meet the challenges of life, clinging to repetition, the safety of the known. This is a time for truth, a time to respond to difficult questions.
Have I accepted the challenge of new ideas, or do I cling blindly to the old? I hide in the safety and comfort of what I already know, afraid of what I may find.
Have I responded honestly to others? Honesty calls me to engage. It demands that I accept the impact of my words, the gap between my intentions and my deeds.
Have I put off important decisions? I know I must act, but I am overwhelmed by the consequences.
Have I grown too sophisticated to be amazed by the universe? I must stop what I do out of habit so that I can experience life anew.
As my imagination becomes stale, I deny myself the freedom of my fantasies, the wonder of my mind.
At this time of self-reflection, I stand in judgment.
We use this time, this Rosh Hashanah, to reflect upon our past. It can remind us of the many moments we have fallen short of our potential, have failed even to attempt to reach. We do this not to sink into despair, but to climb toward a brighter future. Our honest reflection prods us, challenges us, directs us. It allows us to become more than we have been, to create new paths, to truly live in the coming year.
We recognize that we must assume responsibility for our decisions. Admitting our flaws does not mean we accept mediocrity. Knowing we are limited does not mean we fail to strive for understanding and mastery. Accepting our finite nature does not limit our quest.
Because everything we do changes the nature of things, even in very small ways.
Because we are all here together on this planet, sharing a common fate.
Because our every act radiates and has meaning throughout our community and beyond.
We have an obligation and a personal interest in creating a better world. We cannot rely upon a moral authority to enforce righteous values. We are accountable to our community and ultimately to ourselves.
Each of us leaves a legacy. Our legacy must be that we cared and that we made a difference, that our moment in history was significant, that we took responsibility for the world we left our children.
We are called to feed the hungry and to lighten a poor person's burden. We are duty-bound to clean the rivers and clear the air. We are obliged to lessen pain and suffering and to add to the compassion of the world.
Our humanistic values instruct us not to be content with our inheritance. The world's problems do not belong to others.
We cannot isolate ourselves in a society in which we depend so much on one another. To open our hearts to the world and its plight is to raise the spirit of our own lives.
Rabbi Tarfon taught, "It is not up to you to complete the task, but you are not free to desist from it. And thus we ask, have I worked for the betterment of our world?
Like so many others, my excuse is that I am too busy to give of myself.
Have I opened my heart to those less fortunate?
Sometimes I forget the luck of my circumstances and remain indifferent to the fate of others.
Have I indulged in feelings of superiority?
Ranking myself against others is my pleasure and my pain.
Is my courage spent?
Often, I must reach deeply to find my confidence, my faith in myself.
Have I been less than I can be?
At this time of self-reflection,
self-reflection,
I stand in judgment.
As we have done for countless generations at this time of year, we compare our present reality with our ideals, our actions with our aspirations. The cyclic arrival of the new year reminds us that while the movement of time is without boundaries, the limitations of the human mind lead us to see divisions. An hour, a day, a year, being here, and once more celebrating Rosh Hashanah, we become keenly aware that the measure of our own time has been shortened by another year. Faced by the reality of death, we are strengthened by the love and compassion of those we have known, of those who have helped shape our lives. The old year is finished. What is part of the past can never be changed. The gifts of our ancestors given across the expanse of years are ours to savor. The gifts we offer the future are the choices that we make today. So we pause now to think about those whom death has taken from among the living. This year, we particularly recall the tens of thousands of people who have died as a result of coronavirus that has transformed our lives, forced us to remain distant from one another. As we recall them, we also recall those who have died as a result of violence, terror, racism, neglect. We think of those who've died as a result of war and of famine. We think too of those who have rushed in to aid and have died in the process. We think of those who've died as a result of defending the principles of justice and of peace and of democracy. We think too this night of all who have no one to recall them. And we think too of all of our loved ones who no longer walk among us. Ein b'dei ha'mavet ha'koach la'akor ma shetabun malev. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts.
With our tears and our sorrow, we remember.
We remember. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget.
We do not forget.
Acts of kindness,
deeds of courage will remain. Beauty created, wisdom shared
is not
lost. With our
tears, in our sorrow,
we remember. Im dama'ot be'einenu, be'et avleinu, nishmor al zecher achuvenu. With our tears, in our sorrow,
we remember.
We remember.
Everything, everywhere comes from one source. Our lives, all life springs from that cause. Each thing, everything is made of the same matter. Our lives, all life is inseparable and of that ground. We are each of us uncommon expressions of that source, an intelligence unfolding to live one certain life. We blossom sweetly, opening with the sunlight. We spread our wings and rise with the breeze. We flow, rich with life's supporting currents. We pause, silently honoring the gift of every breath. We are, everyone, a source and a benediction for life.
So we all made it through this first service together. And are we going to come back? Are you going to be back? I think so. I hope so.
I think I'll definitely come back. I enjoyed it. So I'm going to vote with my feet. I'll be right back in this chair.
So if you watch this service Friday night, the 18th, and you want to participate tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning for our streaming service, which will be about 40 minutes, and then we are having a conversation about our Torah portion at noon. But in order to participate in the Torah portion, you need to get a Zoom link. It is not going to be streamed. It is only for people who log on. So if you're a member of Beth Adam, you can go on to the members only section. And if you're not a member of Beth Adam, you would need to write us and request that. But you're going to need to do it in a timely manner before noon. Also, I think during the course of the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, David, you're going to be doing some special meditations. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm going to do a series of meditations that we're going to offer. The 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are often called the days of awe or the days of reflection. So these meditations are going to be kind of on different behaviors that we can practice in the upcoming year about making our year better. So concepts of happiness, concepts of contentment, concepts of working with people that are challenging, whatever it is, we're going to create this system, a lockstep kind of system that you can work through. They won't be very long, 3 to 5 minutes, but we would sit together every day. And we're going to continue to have our Friday afternoon meditation, live meditation, and also the videos and etc. But I think it's to take time out of our schedules for that period of time during the 10 days to really just connect with ourselves and others.
And then for the kids, we're doing something on Sunday. And again, that's going to be a Zoom experience. So if you're part of our religious school, you'll be a part of that.
Yeah,
you'll get a Zoom link, and we're doing it differently. We recognize this this year can be very stressful for lots of folks, deciding whether or not, if they have kids, if you're sending your kids to school. So we've also tried to create these services and all these opportunities to recognize the fact that our rhythms and our experiences and our anxieties are heightened this year. And we want to make participating and coming back here something easy and a place that you can breathe, a place that doesn't feel, that takes more time or more energy.
Again, it's really about realizing that we're going to provide a lot of different things and a lot of different access points, because that's what we believe in that Judaism is, multiple access points.
And if you forgot anything we said, I'm sure you were hanging on every word we said, that you were taking notes, you were writing it down.
I just forgot everything I said, so it's perfect.
You can go to bethadam.org. Go to bethadam.org, our website, and there you can look. The calendar is posted. There are actually Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur resource guides and educational materials that are online, but there's also schedules online. So if you forgot what we said, just go online and take a look. And you can always just sort of shoot an email to rabbi@bethadam.org if you have a question as well. So we are pleased that we were able to share this time with you, to be together. And we look forward to sharing Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur with you as well. May we know blessings those who are near. May we know blessings those who are far. May this new year bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. May we know blessings to the day, and may we know blessings to the night. May health be for our children and for all people, and all things soon be right. May we know blessings in our comings, May we know blessings when we depart. May we begin this new year with peace and wisdom in each heart.
Can you
he?
he?
Let it
Let
be.
it
Let
be.
it be.